In the United States alone, there's over 700 cities that have combined sewers. Combined sewers have sanitary and stormwater in the exact same pipe. And that means during a huge storm event, if you've got all this water that's coming in just as stormwater, it mixes with the sanitary and therefore it has to be treated. So you can go from 50% capacity at a treatment plant to 400% capacity in a matter of minutes. And in a city where you're worried about overflows, if you don't intend to do an overflow, then you have the risk of a basement backup, where that system that's connected to the house that you trust is going to lead that waste away from you backs up and you've got sewage in people's basements. So it's a public health and environmental health issue. The idea of this project is that if you can treat that water real time at an overflow location to the same standards that you would at the treatment plant, you can provide these release points throughout the system that where you would normally have an overflow, you treat that water real time. We got back some really good feedback that this is a good project, but you need to do I-Core. And that had been this thing that just kept coming up. And so I was advised to consider looking at conferences as a way to get a lot more interviews. So the first week of I-Core, there was a utilities management conference in San Antonio. I didn't know a soul, and I just talked to everybody that I could. And my interview style got a little bit more refined over time. They did a great job of teaching us about how to not ask, would you, could you, if there was X, would you buy it? Questions, we read the mom test and went through it. And it changed the way that I even talk to anybody now. How do I be a better listener? Because I'm actually searching for information versus just holding a conversation. Because we have now this pilot and I've gone through this process with SBIR, everyone who was a part of it did a great job of breaking down the different parts. So that for me was really valuable because I've written a number of proposals. I know that the key to them is understanding the jargon and the perspective of the reviewers and what the program wants. It's not just, this sounds pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and write some things down and try to impress you. It's how can you appeal to the people who are actually going to be reading this. I think as I've been working in this entrepreneurial world, it's really easy to build things up to be a little bit more than they are. You're kind of thinking in this pitch mentality a lot of times. So it was important to me and valuable to me to get that brought back down to reality. Let's talk about numbers, let's talk about metrics. When you develop your objectives, make them something measurable. So it kind of took all of this experience I've had and brought everything back into some nice package of saying, yes, you're an engineer, let's look at the metrics, but you've been working as an entrepreneur for the last 2 years, so sell it. For me, it seemed that all the things that I'd done had actually been preparing me for an SBIR and STTR submission. Not just to know more, but to really, this is the pinnacle, is if we can get this funding and kind of be recognized.